Hey, what's going on, Dodgers Nation? D-Mac here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. The Dodgers are interested in trading for Reds frontline starter Luis Castillo, and we're going to dive into that in just a second. But quick reminder for all latest Dodgers news, rumors, high videos, interviews, breakdowns, and more all season long. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you really want to support the channel, smash that like button, and feel free to watch an ad. And as always, I'm with your takes down below in the comment section. Today's Dodgers Nation question of the day. 1. Do you think the Dodgers should pursue Luis Castillo? Do you want to see LA trade for Castillo? Also, who would you pick between Castillo and Montas if you were the Dodgers? And who are your untouchable prospects? Would you be willing to part ways with Michael Busch? Would you be willing to part ways with Bobby Miller or Ryan Pepiot or Miguel Vargas? Just some of these top prospects for Luis Castillo. Let us know down below. And for all latest Dodgers news, head over to DodgersNation.com. So it's the most wonderful time of the year. It's summertime right now, but instead of being made in the shade, how about you get made in the trades? Because the MLB trade deadline is fast approaching. This year, the deadline falls on August 2nd, and you can buckle up those couch seatbelts. You can get those notifications ready on Twitter because it's going to be another wild MLB trade deadline. Because the Dodgers, yes, they're stacked. Yes, they have a lot of talent, but they also have some needs. Because of the injuries that they've sustained this season, they could be in the market for another starting pitcher, and I'm going to be doing a series on starting pitchers the Dodgers should pursue and could pursue at the deadline, and today we're starting right at the top with Luis Castillo, because Luis Castillo, the Reds ace, he's been linked with the Dodgers many times throughout the years, but most recently last week when the Athletic's Peter Gammons wrote, the Dodgers have used Mitch White and Ryan Pepiot to each starter innings. Bobby Miller will get starts, and Tony Gonsolin and Tyler Anderson have been phenomenal. But the club will still be in on Montas and Castillo, as will the Blue Jays, White Sox, Mets, Astros, and Giants. So then after that came out, MLB insider Jon Heyman, he also mentioned that the Dodgers are one of the teams that was interested in trading for Luis Castillo, and that they have made contact with Nick Krall and the Red. Now, of course, you know we have to break out the Dodgers rumor meter, and for this rumor, I'm going to give this a 2 Dodger dogs at the moment. People are talking, Dodgers talking to the Reds, they're feeling each other out. There's not too much smoke at the moment, but right now let's go with a 2 Dodger dogs. I might give it a 2.5 Dodger dogs if I could, but let's go with 2 Dodger dogs for now, but it's definitely not nothing. So the first question is, how good is Luis Castillo? We know the Dodgers faced him a few weeks ago. He gave up 4 runs through 5 innings of work, but the year prior, he was dominant against the Dodgers, and the Dodgers and Walker Buehler after the game, they were very impressed. They talk about how he has some of the best stuff in the game, and that's what makes Luis Castillo so intriguing, because if you look at his numbers, yes, a 3.69 ERA, a 3.72 FIP, those numbers won't blow you away, but when he's on, his stuff is absolutely filthy. When he's on and he has the feel for that changeup and that 4-seam fastball and the rest of his pitch mix, his stuff is as dirty as any pitcher in Major League Baseball. And so far this season, in 10 games, he owns a 3.32 ERA, a 3.20 FIP, a 25.1 strikeout rate, an 8.8 walk rate in 57 innings of work. Now, he's still trying to find his footing. He's still trying to stabilize after starting the season injured. He was dealing with right shoulder soreness, so he's still trying to get right, and he really is starting to figure things out. His last start earlier this week, he was sensational. 11 punch-outs in 6 innings of work, didn't allow a run on 5 hits, did issue those 3 walks, but he was absolutely filthy against the Chicago Cubs. And yes, this isn't the 2016 Cubbies or the 1908 Cubbies. This is the 2022 Cubs. They're not very good, but he still flashed that top-end stuff, that frontline starter potential, that ace-like potential that he's always had. And if you look at some of his StatCast metrics, what really stand out, if you look at the barrel percentage in the 82 percentile with missing barrels, if you look at that fastball velocity sitting in the 90th percentile, he's averaging 96.6 miles per hour on the year on his heater. Opponents are hitting just 128. So he gives that dimension that the Dodgers are lacking at times, especially with Walker Buehler out, especially when he was in there. He didn't have the feel for his best pitch, that 4-seam fastball. So Castillo definitely has that pitch in his bag, and he's a flamethrower, and he can pump it up there and miss bats in big spots. And that's the kind of stuff that plays up in the postseason. And he does have a true 4-pitch mix. He also works in, and he does does have a true 4-pitch mix. He does work in that slider. So far this season, he's throwing that slide piece at a 21.7% clip. Opponents are hitting 189 off it. He also mixes in that sinker. That's his least effective pitch. Opponents are hitting 317 off of him. But when you talk about Luis Castillo, the C in Castillo, it stands for changeup. The world-famous changeup of Luis Castillo. Since the start of the 2017 season, it has generated the most strikeouts, more than any other off-speed pitch in all of Major League Baseball. That is how lethal that pitch is. And when you look at cumulative run value, it's only behind Kevin Gausman's splitter as the best off-speed pitch in that stretch. And here's the thing. There are some whispers out there that that pitch isn't as effective as it once was, that it's experiencing a little bit of a decline. Well, if you look at the pitch value, if you look at the spin, it's still a money pitch for Luis Castillo, and there are some out there that believe that he's throwing it a little too high when you look at the release point, and that is where this Dodgers coaching staff, the Mark Pryors, the Connor McGinnises of the world, guys that know how to get to the bottom of any mechanical issues, they can assist him with that. Can you imagine giving a pitcher with Luis Castillo's talent to Mark Pryor? That's like giving Kendrick Lamar to Dr. Dre. He's going to get in the lab, put on that lab coat, and they'll get to the bottom of any mechanical issues that he's having, especially when you look at the release point. Also, they'll find some attack plans. They're just going to optimize him if he gets in this Dodgers organization. And another thing you want to consider, too, is where does he play? He plays in Cincinnati. They call it the Great American Small Park for a reason. And if you look at his splits, he has a 3.28 ERA at home and a 4.21 ERA on the road. So we have to do something about that road ERA, but a 3.28 home ERA is very impressive. Also, when you consider the fact that the way he generates his outs is through striking guys out, also getting ground balls, and he's had a below-average defense behind him while he's been in Cincinnati. So there's a lot to like with Luis Castillo. We're talking about top-shelf stuff. We're talking about top 10 in all of Major League Baseball level stuff. When he's on, he dominates the opponent. And right now, you have Tony Gonsolin, who's been fantastic. Is he due for some regression? He probably is. I still think he's going to be above average. He's going to be solid all season long. But then Tyler Anderson, he's already experienced some regression. Clayton Kershaw, he had a rough start in Colorado, which I think it was a Coors casualty as a 4.81 ERA in 25 starts at Coors Field. I still think he can be effective, but he's also dealt with injuries himself. Julio Urias, he's back to pitching at a top 20, top 10 to 20 level at the moment. And then you talk about Walker Buehler. What is the status with Walker Buehler? We know that he's saying that he could be back sometime after the All-Star break, sometime in September, but how's he going to look? Is he going to find it? Because before he went down, he really struggled with that four-seam fastball. It was one of the worst pitches in all of Major League Baseball when it comes to effectiveness. And this is a guy in Luis Castillo that can do what Walker Buehler was doing as far as just mowing hitters down with that four-seam fastball. So that's one thing I also like about Castillo, too, is if Walker Buehler isn't going to come back and be the butane of old, you got a horse in Castillo that can dominate hitters in that fashion. You want to have a different dimension for hitters. You want some guys like the Clayton Kershaws that can beat you with the slider and just straight up pitch. Then you got Tony Gonsolin, who has that splitty. Then you got Julio Urias from the lefty arm angles and the slurve and everything that he brings to the table. So that's another thing you want to strongly consider. The fact that he is a fireballer, the fact that he can dominate hitters with that high velocity four-seam fastball, combine it with that changeup, that slider, and that sinker. The Dodgers don't really have that dimension right now. A guy that can pump it up to 98, 99, 100 miles per hour out there on the mound from one of their starters. A lot of great pitches on the Dodgers, no question about it, but having that added dimension could definitely play up in the postseason, especially if Walker Buehler can come back and look like the pitcher that he was for the Dodgers in previous postseasons when he was beating hitters with that elevated four-seam fastball and just dominating opponents, because that four-seam fastball before he went down with injury was one of the least effective pitches in all of Major League Baseball. So is he a little burned out? He probably is, and this rest is probably doing him some good, but you can't just expect him to come back and be the butane of old. And I think that when he does come back, that's in September, which is after the August 2nd MLB trade deadline. So the Dodgers, they definitely have to go out and get a starter, so why not bring in someone like a Luis Castillo that definitely has that frontline starter stuff? Now, who would they have to part ways with? Well, of course, the Dodgers, they gave up starter Josiah Gray and Keibert Ruiz, the catcher last season, their top two prospects, in exchange for Max Scherzer and Trey Turner. And this time around, they're probably going to also have to part ways with with a top 5 prospect. Now, Ryan Pepiot, he's the Dodgers' number 6 prospect as we speak. We saw him for the Dodgers this season. He made his debut in Pittsburgh, and he had his ups and downs with LA. You saw that really filthy changeup. You also saw some command issues at times, and it looks like he's still just not quite there to really come in and be a big-time contributor, a big impact starter or reliever for this Dodger team at the moment. So would they include Ryan Pepiot in the deal? Would you be willing to part ways with the Diego Cartaya, a Bobby Miller, and Andy Pages, a Michael Busch, and Miguel Vargas, players like that? In my opinion, it's going to take at least one of those top prospects. And if I had to keep some of those guys, I'm keeping Bobby Miller, I'm keeping Miguel Vargas, and I'm keeping Michael Busch. We know Busch and Vargas, they have elite potential hit tools, special hit tools, guys that I think are going to have a chance to rake at the big league level. And then Bobby Miller, he's a big wild card. You talk to scouts out there, some think he could be a frontline guy, a number 1 or number 2 starter. Some aren't as high on him when they look at his delivery and his release. It's a little rocky at times. They think maybe he projects as a potential reliever at some point during his career. But when you consider that Castillo still has 1 arbitration year left, and it's not just a half-year rental or anything like that, it's definitely going to require a top 5 prospect and a top 25 prospect, most likely, when you consider the fact that there aren't that many ace-level starters available for some of these contending teams. But I definitely think he's a pitcher the Dodgers should go after. They should at least do their diligence and see what it would take. But I wouldn't sell the farm. I wouldn't include guys like Bobby Miller or Cartaya or Busch or even Miguel Vargas. But there are some pitchers out there that I think that the Reds would be interested in the Dodgers farm system. You got the Knacks, the Groves. There's a lot of pitchers out there that the Dodgers could part ways with. So let me know down below in the comment section. To me, I think Castillo is definitely a guy the Dodgers could use, a guy that they could really unlock. He's got that elite stuff, and he's kind of puts me in a spot where I kind of just want to get one of my guys, right? Because I've been talking about Castillo for 2-3 years now on the Dodgers. So to see it finally materialize would be pretty amazing, especially when you consider the fact that the Dodgers could use another frontline starter. But let me know down below in the comment section, do you want to see the Dodgers trade for Luis Castillo? Would you part ways with a top 5 prospect? Who would you not give up in a deal for Luis Castillo? Let me know down below. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. For all latest Dodgers news, rumors, hype videos, breakdowns, interviews, and more all season long, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you want to see us post even more Dodgers content, smash that like button. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.